Well, it's been a minute, so I decided it's time for another episode of Kitchen Catastrophes with Melissa. Today we're going to be making a dish that I have actually made successfully before, so we are unlikely to have any catastrophes. This is summertime succotash. The recipe comes from The Kind Diet. That's Alicia Silverstone's cookbook. She's a vegan, so she does take things a bit more seriously than I do when it comes to plant-based and all that. But this is one of her easier recipes. Some of her recipes I look at and they're a little scary because there's just a lot of things that I've never even heard of, some that are kind of hard to find in a grocery store, but still kind of cool. Maybe I should try sometime. But today we're going to stick with summertime succotash because we could all use some summertime right about now. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is, of course, turning on the oven, or not the oven, the stove, and I'm going to be adding some butter. I like the Kerrygold butter. I think it's a little bit of a cleaner butter. I'm not for certain, but it doesn't have as many ingredients, which to me is always a good thing. So I need about a tablespoon. So that's about a tablespoon-ish. All right, so we'll put the butter in there. All right. And then to that, apparently that's not enough fat, so we're going to also add some olive oil, but just a teaspoon of it. I don't know why you would need two different things, because they, to me, seem to fulfill the same kind of role in a recipe, but I don't know. That's why I'm not the one who, I don't make the rules. So I'm supposed to melt those together and over medium-high heat, which, yeah, that's about where that is. And now I'm supposed to add to that a cup of diced red onion. So I'm gonna just pretty much just cut up this one onion. It's probably got to be about a cup. So I will cut this up, toss it in with that, and we'll be right back in just a moment. So I've now put all of the onion into the skillet, and so the next thing on my list of ingredients to add is going to be 1 clove of garlic minced. So lovely clove of garlic out of here. I'm about to drop the whole thing into the garbage bowl. There we go. And since I have the garlic press, I'm going to use that. Just save a little time in the mincing process. Now, I will admit, the whole reason, the first time I ever made the succotash, the whole reason I did was because of Looney Tunes. You know, Sylvester saying suffer and succotash, I was kind of thinking, well, what is succotash? So I saw the recipe and was like, well, let's try it. All right, so this is going to saute for about 5 to 7 minutes. So we'll give that a little time to saute. Okay, so it said that they were supposed to saute until they start to brown, and we're starting to get some nice browning on this onion here. Oops. Okay, I wasn't supposed to put in the garlic just yet. Oh well. Yeah, I got ahead of myself there, but I think it'll be okay. We'll survive. So now I'm supposed to put in the lima beans, and it's supposed to be 1 10-ounce package of frozen baby lima beans. These are baby lima beans, however, this is 16 ounces, so I'm going to try my best to put in just 2/3 of this bag. I think it'll be okay if it's not exact. In fact, if I go a little overboard, probably not terrible. That seems to be all right. All right. And now I'm supposed to let it saute for another 5 minutes. So I added the lima beans. I did mention that they were from a package of frozen, but they are supposed to be thawed. These aren't exactly thawed because I did just get back from the grocery store and I tried to microwave them briefly, but they're still slightly frozen. So they might need to take a little bit more than 5 minutes to saute. We'll see. All right, well, the lima beans are just about done with sauteing to the point where I need to add the next ingredient. And it's also time for me to start telling a story. So our next ingredient is going to be frozen corn. It says you can use fresh or frozen, and cups, so we'll do that. So today's story is not a kitchen catastrophe story, nor is it a dating disaster story, although it is, I guess, dating disaster story adjacent. I would say this would fit in with the world of the humorous stories. So, as a teacher, occasionally you will find that sometimes the single dads will show a little interest. So, you're getting a twofer today. There's going to be 2 stories of single dads showing a little interest, which, by the way, I'm not having. There's no part of that sounds like it's a good idea to me. So, there you have it. All right. Our next ingredient, by the way, is a cup of cherry tomatoes halved. So I've got that started, but I'm going to keep halving while I tell the story. So the first story comes from a conversation I had with a dad once. It was in the parking lot. I don't remember why we were both leaving the school at the same time, but we were. And this particular dad had a very raspy voice. And so, frankly, there were times I would have a conversation and not have a clue what was said. Well, this was just such an occasion. We were talking in the parking lot, and then I had reason to go back into the school. And on my way back in, it dawned on me that I had just agreed to go on a date without realizing what I was saying. As I said, I had no idea what the man said, but then it slowly sank in, and I was like, wait a minute. Yeah. So, thank goodness when he approached me later with like, so, when you want to go and get some drinks or whatever, I just kind of brushed off with like a, yeah, I'm really sorry. I'm just really busy, and thank goodness he got the hint and just kind of let it go. The second story, this one, a little bit more interesting than the first. The next thing I'm adding, by the way, is 2 tablespoons of fresh parsley. So I got some fresh parsley here, and I'm going to use my kitchen scissors to cut it up, and hopefully we will end up with a nice amount of freshly cut parsley. So the second one was a story that kind of was like an after the fact kind of story. So this was a dad who, when his daughter was in my orchestra, I was fairly certain that he was interested, considering every time we had after school orchestra practice while she was in 4th and 5th grade, he always came to rehearsal and sat in the back, and then, just had to have something to talk about at the end of every rehearsal. So I was like, okay, but didn't act on it at that point. But this next part is why I've made sure the band director was aware, because this is where the story takes a really weird turn. And that is that several years later, I got a message from this dad over social media for a couple different reasons, but actually there were a couple messages, but the one that I had to make sure that the band director knew, so that somebody knew. The message was like, I want to say like a 2 a.m. message, so that gives you a hint of where this is going. And the dad proceeds to leave a message basically saying that he's crazy about me, yada yada. It was a little freaky, a little stalkerish. So anyway, if I ever go missing, that particular dad is where you start. I think he's harmless. I really do. I don't think he's a stalker. But if I do go missing, that's where you start. Ooh, and you know what? I'm starting to put things in before I'm supposed to. Okay. I'm supposed to take this off the heat. Goodness, I'm telling stories and distracting myself. What? All right, I was supposed to wait to put in the parsley until it was off the heat, but that's okay. That's how I roll, right? All right, so anyhow, humorous stories, kind of. Dating disasters, not really, but interesting stories nonetheless. But that being said, I will continue to say it is not a good idea for teachers to date or encourage fathers of their students. I think it's kind of creepy and just not wise. So anyhow, all of those Hallmark movies where the single dad starts dating the teacher, every time I watch those, I think to myself, I love Hallmark movies. I know they're predictable. I know that there's like 3 plots that are used to produce every single one of those. And this plot bothers me, but I love the movie anyway. All right, so the last thing I'm going to add, or next, there's 2 more things to add. The next one is basil. I couldn't find like regular fresh basil, so I got this lightly dried, so it's kind of fresh, but not really fresh, I guess. I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of this in here. So it's, I guess, yeah, next door to fresh. I mean, it has a consistency that's more fresh than dried. All right, so we stir that up. And then we get to our final ingredient. And the final ingredient is white or red balsamic vinegar. I don't know why, but I tend to keep the white balsamic around. I like that better, I think. I don't know why that is. She also, in the cookbook, says white is best. It says white is best, but who has white? I use red. Well, I have white wine, or why not wine, but white vinegar. Not wine, I don't like wine. All right, and I'm gonna put in a tablespoon of that. All right. And then I stir it up, and then this can be served warm or chilled. I've had it both ways. Personally, I do prefer it chilled. But here, let me see if I can hold this up without accidentally dumping it so you can see. Yum. And of course, I'll just have a little taste test just because that, you know, what's a cooking show without a taste test? It's still good. All right. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and we'll catch you later.